Thank you for joining us today for the signing of legislation that, quite candidly, many of you have spent time. It's been years in the making. It's all been just smooth sailing for years and years. We milked it out, but in all seriousness, this represents our first update on the industrial lands use policy in decades, and so we're very excited about it. I'll say a few words, and you have some great speakers that'll follow me, just a few, but again, thank you for being here. We know how passionate you are about I'll say our industry and our maritime community, a very special segment of the city of Seattle. Now, getting this critical legislation, quite candidly, over the finish line was an important priority for my administration. Deputy Mayor Tim Burgess and I, and even Councilmember Strauss and others, we talked about this some time ago when we had taken office, and I said there's been several issues when I was on the council that we sort of punted on, and you know, for those that follow football, you punt when you just didn't get enough yardage. That's not a good thing. I'm going in on the punt team here because that means you didn't accomplish what you wanted to accomplish. We didn't want to punt. We wanted to get this work done. We know that industrial lands, is comprised of 10, 11, 12% of our total area in the city, and it's a critical part. It provides over 100,000 critical living wage jobs, and quite candidly, when you look at the kind of jobs, 2/3 of which may not require a fancy college degree. It's just people that are very, very smart in other ways, very talented in other ways. They have that old-fashioned work ethic that you want, and that's what this industry represents. Now, we chose to be here in what is known as Kenny Lau's home, that's right, or the iconic Fisherman's Terminal, home of one of the nation's largest fishing fleets. And when we hear work going on, that's music to our ears when we like to employ people. These vessels behind us employ hundreds of people in our community, and quite candidly, it's our responsibility, and mine as mayor, as your mayor, to continue making sure we protect these jobs as a pathways to an affordable, vibrant city for all. Now, I get a little nostalgic when I come to areas like this, and you've heard me say before, I remember my father taking me over around these areas, and we would fish and catch these god-awful, ugly-looking fish, but we'd still eat them no matter what we would catch. They were flounder, soulfish, and rockfish, and everything that would bite a little worm. But I say that to say that it's not so much about recognizing our past. There's a portion of that. But what's most important is ensuring that this kind of activity is the heart of our future. Our past becomes relevant when we treasure it, and we make sure that we are intentional about building the future that we want. Now, this legislation that we're celebrating today is flexible enough to allow this kind of growth in this great industry, and we estimate there will be over 35,000 new jobs and 3,000 new homes over the next 20 years. And I hope to be around for the next 20 years if I keep, as the doctor says, I keep with the diet and exercise plan. But in all seriousness, when we are all dust, that's what we want this city to be, to represent this industry, our maritime, these sectors, and that's why this is so critical. It also provides transit-oriented economic development when we think about our growth near future sound transit light rail stations and these critical freight corridors, and what we're trying to do. We're trying to connect our port to destinations across the country. The new employment opportunities, we're very intentional about that. Women and minorities and communities of color, advancing our goals in equity and inclusion. You'll hear some speakers, particularly our port commissioner, talk about that, I'm sure. And it creates a healthier transition from our industrial areas to non-industrial areas. These buffer areas, we talk about building a sustainable future for our next generation, and this kind of intentionality was just well done by the members that helped negotiate this. So we believe this policy sets the groundwork for Seattle, that we want to see a thriving city with diverse employment opportunities and affordable places to live, work, and play. So again, in closing, I want to thank the Port of Seattle, who quite candidly has just been the strongest partners we can imagine in trying to figure this stuff out in this work to protect maritime industrial zones. We've had leadership show itself in exemplary ways, and we're very proud to claim that as we go over the finish line. I also should say that, we're pretty excited about the Maritime Innovation Center that's going to open right here. We've looked at its plans. We've talked to leaders helping put that together right here at Fisherman's Terminal. So next year we will see again a tangible example of the kind of intentionality in supporting our maritime industrial lands you should see. That will create not only jobs, workforce development strategies, and entrepreneurship in our industry. And as I said earlier, that is just essential to our city's fabric. Okay, so I'm going to introduce Councilmember Dan Strauss, and he'll say a few remarks, but I do want to say, as chair of the Land Use Committee and representing the Ballard neighborhood where we have many of our maritime industrial jobs located right here, he's shown a clear commitment to listening to all stakeholders involved. Some things you can't fake, and I think passion becomes one of them. You can sort of give that artificial passion, but sometimes you guys have been around for a while, you can see someone that's really trying to put their heart and soul into doing something, and I believe that he showed that kind of real, authentic passion for protecting the viability of our maritime industrial lands, and it was through his leadership and his commitment, I think, that got us here to celebrate this. So I want to welcome and have a few words from Councilmember Dan Strauss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you all. As I was saying with Jordan earlier before this, we didn't actually think we'd get here today. Jordan's been working on this through 3 administrations, and it's just an honor to get to be able to pass these important protections for our maritime and industrial centers, as well as create the flexibility around the edges and near light rail stations. When you look behind me, we've got a lot of empty slips, and that's a good thing, because each of those empty slips represents a small business directly employing hundreds of people in our community and indirectly employing thousands within our community. It's really, I mean, you cannot do all of the work on the fishing vessel. You have to have places on land that serve these facilities. You must be able to have your electricians, your refrigeration, your welders, your cabinetry, your upholstery, which is included within these vessels, on land. And if we do not protect the land that provides the places for these businesses to exist, we will not have a working waterfront. There's no better place to see the importance of these protections, because this is the closest freshwater port to the Gulf of Alaska and the Bering Sea, the direct connection to many places in Alaska that do not have road access. It's a little hard to see behind coastal maritime back there, but we've got Western Towboat that runs barge service from here to many roadless communities in southeast Alaska. And guess what? Those tugboats are built here in Ballard. They're built out of, I guess you can't see it either, Ballard, well, it's slightly through here. Ballard Industrial, that orange building, looks pretty sleepy, but it's providing all of the parts and the pieces for Western Towboat to be able to build their boats here in Ballard. As we can see with Western Dawn, you can't build a boat quietly. You can't fix a boat quietly. And that is why these protections are so critical, because if we do not have this area designated for this type of work, it's never going to be able to get done. These are family wage jobs. When I was growing up in Ballard, we always knew that if college wasn't the right option for you, you could jump on a fishing boat and you could make a family wage job. A lot of things have changed in Ballard. And one thing that we cannot let change is that access to family wage jobs. It is important that we have the Maritime Academy here on the closest freshwater port to the Gulf of Alaska and the Bering Sea. And with Ballard changing so much, it is important to create the pipeline into those jobs where people live that need those jobs. And that's why having the Maritime High School in Highline is a smart and the right choice. I went extemporaneous and I lost all my spots here. Excuse me.
You just bluff it.
You know, I'll get to wrapping up here. The importance of maritime lands are not just here on the freshwater. It's also down in the saltwater with all of the port facilities with freight. We have I-90 connecting our port facilities to America's heartland and all the way out to Boston. And that is the critical importance of not just having the ability to load and unload freight, it's the ability to get that freight onto I-90, it's the ability to store that freight near the docks, near the harbor. And so I'm really grateful for all of the work by the stakeholders over the last decade to get us here today. And to Mayor Harrell, to Deputy Mayor Burgess for making this happen. You threw the ball, I caught it, I got it to the finish line, I got it into the end zone, and here we are today. And I'll end with this, that no one got everything that they wanted in this package. And Seattle won, because Seattle now has incredibly important protections that will last generations, longer than I'm even going to be around. So and we couldn't have done this without all of the stakeholders here today. I see a lot of really great friends, so thank you for making this happen. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Councilmember Strauss. I'd like to just politely correct one thing that Councilmember Strauss said. This is how we're going to rewrite history. Everybody got everything they wanted in this great plan. Everybody's happy today. It's a happy day. And I also wanted to mention that Rico Quirindongo is here of our Office of Planning Community Development, and what I said during his confirmation, his unanimous confirmation process, is that it takes a special set of skills to be able to reflect this listening ability. I think in Seattle politics, we just talk over each other, we talk at each other, we yell at each other. And what I'm always asked for in great leaders like you, and I'll just speak to you directly, is the ability to convince the other person that you understand their position. And that's the only way you could get past. And, I met many of you in 2007 when I first ran for office. And I was baptized in Ballard over coffee conversations, and many of you made it clear about your priorities, Warren. And I heard you. And here I am, 16, 17 years later as mayor, and the messages resonated. So if you don't think your hard work and your advocacy works, look at what we're doing today. So thank you for that work. And having said that, I think that's a good segue into our Port of Seattle Commissioner and Vice President Toshiko Hasegawa. Many of you know her because of not only what her family has done, but her tireless commitment and running for office. She could have done many things, but she chose to be a port commissioner because of her love for this community, this love for the maritime industry. And so she's been an awesome advocate for racial equity, workforce development, sustainability, and we're about the same age, she and I. So we appreciate you listening to the younger generation as we continue to preserve what's here in Seattle. Port Commissioner Hasegawa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Oh, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for the invitation to be a part of today, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Strauss. It is a great day for our maritime industry and its estimated $8 billion in economic impact statewide. My name is Toshiko Hasegawa. I have the honor of serving as your Port of Seattle Commissioner, and I'm so pleased to be here today and welcome you all to Fisherman's Terminal. This is a perfect place for today's signing ceremony. Fisherman's Terminal has been the home of the North Pacific fishing fleet since 1914. It was the first facility that the Port of Seattle built under the premise that developing maritime industrial spaces benefits not just those businesses, but the city and the community overall. The jobs and economic activity that occur in this commercial fishing hub are the living legacy of that bold idea. It's the foundation of what drives our work, and it's the foundation of the legislation that we are so proud to have Mayor Harrell sign today. And I'd like to start by recognizing Mayor Harrell and Councilmember Strauss for not only persevering through a multi-year negotiation about land use policy, but to thank you for taking it on in the first place, for believing that no matter how complex and difficult this would be, that we need an updated industrial land use policy to realize our vision for Seattle's economy. And we appreciate the entire City Council for supporting this legislation to give maritime industrial businesses in our community the certainty that they need to plan and to build. I also want to thank the wide range of stakeholders who participated in developing the legislation, from agricultural partners in Eastern Washington to state lawmakers working on statewide transportation planning, to labor unions and local businesses. It is an incredible coalition that represents the diversity and success of Washington's economy. I am so proud that this policy continues to protect this sliver of space that we have in Seattle specifically set aside for industry and innovation and for trade and for manufacturing. Because what you see from our partners is that when you protect land for these businesses, that they will grow and they will hire and they will be globally competitive. Of course, I'm pointing to our traditional industries like fishing and cargo, but like the mayor said, I'm also looking forward to an entire new generation of a green economy and their industries that we want based here in Seattle. While much of this conversation centered on what it takes to grow a competitive and diverse economy, we are also thinking about the kind of city and region we want to live in today and that we want to leave for future generations. The new land use policies avoid new conflicts that would raise new equity and environmental justice concerns, and it advances our economic competitiveness. This is a win for business and for community members. I am so proud that we'll be able to point back to this moment in time to say that we saved this special space that makes Seattle economically diverse and resilient. Thank you for recognizing the urgency of this work, and congratulations for getting it done.
Our last speaker will be Rhae Adams, but I want to say a little bit about the company First Mode that he represents. And I will, as I changed the pages, it occurred to me that this must be really strong legislation because we even got Eugene Wasserman to be a little giddy today. We know how silly and playful he always is. I say that out of love, Eugene. Okay. Okay. So Rhae Adams is the co-founder and chief growth and sustainability officer of First Mode. A little bit about First Mode. This company was founded in 2018 and has grown with offices in the United States, Australia, and the UK. And their work, basically, they have significant contributions to NASA's exploration of the solar system on the Mars Perseverance and the Europa Clipper and the Psyche missions. This is big stuff here. We're very proud of this employer. First Mode is also responsible for the design, build, and deployment of the world's largest hydrogen vehicle ever created, which a zero-emission mining haul truck. Their official headquarters moved to London early this year as part of a merger with the British mining company Anglo American, but their effective headquarters remains in Pioneer Square. And this month they announced a 45,000 square foot manufacturing facility in SoDo. And I just wanted to say that this represents what we're trying to do. We're trying to attract this kind of talent and these kinds of jobs to support what we're doing here in Seattle. So we're very pleased to have Rhae Adams share a few words with us. And again, welcome to Seattle, Rhae, and we love that you're here.
Hi, good. Uh-oh.
Same thing I did.
Hello? Hello. There we go. Good morning, everyone. I'm Rhae Adams, as mentioned, one of the co-founders of First Mode, a climate-based technology company here in Seattle. So we've got about 250 full-time employees, work right down in Pioneer Square, right across from the Seahawks Stadium, and then now 3 facilities down in the SoDo neighborhood. When we started First Mode in 2018, we weren't really sure that Seattle was the right place for a lot of the heavy manufacturing we knew we'd be doing, but we quickly realized that we were wrong. Our first facility right across the street from the market, actually, which was very interesting to be building spacecraft components above the original Starbucks and the Foundation nightclub. But we got a lot of support from the city right away and realized that this was the right spot to continue our growth. I want to express our gratitude and excitement as part of being here today. Congratulations and thank you to the mayor, Councilmember Strauss, and all the stakeholders who have participated in reaching this momentous occasion for Seattle's industrial and maritime places. First Mode is leading the way in clean technology manufacturing with a mission to replace diesel and heavy industry. In the heart of Seattle's industrial lands, we're creating clean energy innovations at our engineering headquarters in Pioneer Square, our SODO Research and Development Facility, and a newly announced SODO factory just north of Spokane Street. We take great pride in designing and manufacturing some of the largest zero-emission engines in the world for mining, locomotive, and other heavy industrial applications. Just one of the engines that leave our facility is the equivalent of taking 600 passenger vehicles off the road each year. Today, as we celebrate the passage of new zoning laws that protect industrial and maritime spaces in our city, we recognize the tremendous opportunity it presents for companies like ours. These reforms will enable the growth of the clean technology and industrial future, supporting our transition away from fossil fuels and driving the progress we need to combat climate change. Looking ahead, we understand the significant advantages of combining high-tech engineering activities with nearby manufacturing and industrial operations within our city limits. When you're doing something new for the first time, you simply cannot separate those two activities. Our engineers are regularly shuttling or scootering down to our manufacturing facility to solve problems alongside our technicians and our fabrication team. This strategic integration allows us to foster innovation, harness local talent, and create a dynamic ecosystem that accelerates the development of sustainable solutions for the clean technology industry. The industrial spaces protected by these new zoning laws will play a crucial role in our city's ability to manufacture and produce the tools needed to bring down global carbon emissions. They will foster an environment of innovation and collaboration, attracting more companies like First Mode to Seattle. By embracing clean technology manufacturing and promoting the growth of the green economy, we will not only create living wage jobs for Seattle residents, but also strengthen the economic resiliency of our city. The vision of Seattle becoming an exporter of clean technology is within reach, and First Mode is proud to be part of this transformational journey. Under Mayor Harrell's leadership, Seattle is positioning itself as an innovation center for clean energy technologies and green economy, and First Mode is committed to being a force in this transformative journey. These new zoning laws provide the stability, predictability, and flexibility that industrial businesses like ours need to thrive in Seattle and make a positive impact on the environment. We are grateful for this moment and eager to contribute our expertise and innovation to Seattle's bright and sustainable industrial future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rhae. And I don't mind sucking up to Rhae because I've had to suck up to almost everyone here today at some point in my life. But in closing again, before we sign this into law, I want to thank again Rico Quirindongo for your extraordinary work. Jeff Wentland, I want to say Jim Holmes, the entire Office of Planning and Community Development for leading this process. John Persak, thank you. Again, Deputy Mayor Tim Burgess, Dan Nolte, and the broad group of stakeholders, again, who has made this a great day. We look forward to our continued partnership with you, our stakeholders, and the port to continue to support the next generation of maritime and industrial workers in our city. And quite honestly, I know if you were here listening to me right now, you have your DNA in this process, and for that, we will be eternally thankful. And let's sign this into law, and we'll take it from there. Thank you very much. And I'm in, oh shoot, this thing keeps going. And please come up here. We got to get to this. All this stuff we said is going to be a photo op, and that's the photo op we're doing right here. Where's the gentleman that's helping me with the mic? I don't know where he went. There you go. Right here. I'm going to just give you this back because I couldn't squeeze it on there. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. All right, let's do
We
that.
need this crane to lift this legislation.
Come on, Warren.
Congratulations.
Don't jump.
Sure is.
Just hang out in the back there. When I first met him, he didn't have that much gray hair.
You said that out loud.
Hey, neither did Strauss.
See what they do when they hang around me?
All right. Hey, join us.
All right.
Used all the pens.
Commissioner, I'm going to give it to you to pass out because I don't want to screw up.
It was my favorite. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
I loved it.
One photo looking here.
Pull the pin out.
Since everyone got everything they wanted, let's put our fingers up for one Seattle.
That's the story we'll tell years from now.
One more pen.
Thank you.